how times have changed. Nostalgia is a real thing, tangible, it's individual yet shared across us all. Games are front and centre in that feeling of memories, and Wipeout is a monster one for my retro feels. And as my huge two-part retrospective look back at the title shows, you can check this out with the link in the description or on screen. Now, it is as much a part of the PlayStation brand as the PS logo itself. This was a defining movement in the success of PlayStation as a brand ambassador for it. Therefore, it seems poetic and just that it now takes the same role for PSVR. Big words indeed, but they certainly ring true and are as full as your pants most likely once you don the helmet and strap in for the true killer app for the format. Let me take you on a journey of Wipeout's rebirth. Not a port, much more than a remaster. This is a whole new beginning. This is WipEoutVR. To think, this is not only a vast recreation of the core game and engine that could easily be passed for DLC, instead this is a free update for the title, a download open to all tracks, modes and vehicles within a new reality. No special limited VR racing here, everything is present from the core game, including online, which includes VR and non-VR players, in addition to 3 new vehicles and the new cockpit view first seen in Wipeout 3, but far more meaningful here. Now, some teams may have stopped here, but not XDev and Co. They pushed on to redesign the game to fit the format. Many options allow you to adjust comfort and view. In the hot seat, you can turn off the speed sensation that tunnels your vision as you shoot down the tracks. You can also turn on the blinkers, or the blinders as they're called here, added to reduce the view within the cockpit, which all helps motion sickness. On top of this, you can lock it to the pilot, the track or the cockpit itself to reduce or enhance the immersion levels, and it still includes the chase cams as per the normal game. All these options can be mixed and matched as needed and changed in-game, a hugely impressive and almost working concept design on how to make VR far more accessible and comfortable. Now, of all games, you would imagine this one to be really high on the sickness levels, and it's not. Now, I suffer from it. Yes, you still need to take breathers and options in between games, but this is standard of all VR, otherwise you get those VR spins. But this is a given really, and I recommend this anyway across all titles. I come out every 30 or 40 minutes or so this gives me time to get out, stretch my legs and my eyes before I'm itching to get back in. The pilot mode is obviously the most impressive. Mapped inside the ship and the cockpit, it's the preferred option for me to look around the track, but you can lock it to the track so that everything is static, or the horizon level is kept static as you play. The ship is a mixture of the two, locking it to the ship itself, and obviously on top of this the blinkers add a large or small view which helps reduce that motion sickness. Now, all these choices are vast and very well thought out to reduce the impressive results as much as possible to mix it up with the comfort levels. Right from the new 3D menu exclusive to VR, you are given all the options and choices here. This is no half measures at all. Having all the options is great and it allows people to customize the experience, but for me, fuck it. Go full or go home. That's what I choose. Now, this is just what I imagine Wipeout for real would have been like in 1995. This is as big a leap as the original. Getting used to the anti-gravity league was always tough, but VR actually makes it a hell of a lot easier, largely as you can judge distance better, and with steep inclines and loop-de-loops you can actually look up and into them before you get there. The same for long or late apex corners. This allows you to look into or be able to turn your head and look into the vanishing point using your peripheral vision up close. It's a huge gain in playing the game and feeling much more realistic. Now, as a keen motorcycle rider myself and track racing, this is instinctive for me and just heightens the immersion and enjoyment, and I'm sure many others who are currently enjoying the title. Now, not content with giving you all of the full game, as excellent as GT Sport is as a VR racer, Wipeout now easily takes that title away. It uses both the PS4 and the Pro well, with one of the sharpest games on the OLED display due to super sampled image. The PS4 itself is pushing 40% more pixels than the base 1920 by 1080 game, which means across VR, remember you have to render 2 viewports which are slightly offset for each eye, giving us just over 2.9 million pixels to the headset, which is a welcome boost and plays a big part in the game looking almost identical to the base version. The Pro obviously goes even better with a 50% increase over that standard 1080p, effectively 1620p per eye, but it's around 3.1 million pixels you're seeing overall, which is not to be sniffed at this VR screens. Now, talking to the development team themselves, they hit this level and thought increasing it even more was obviously possible on the Pro, but it wasn't really worth it because the effective return is minimal compared to the other benefits that the Pro offers. And these are animated crowds are on the Pro, they're missing totally on the PS4, which you can see from my examples on screen here at the beginning of the tracks. In addition to this, LOD is also pushed further out, basically giving higher geometry further away, and some of the static geometry is even removed or cut back on the PS4. This is because the game is largely triangle or geometry bound. Now, the extra ALUs of the Pro allow this increase in geometry and crowds along with the animation, which can be seen at the start of each race, but take on less relevance whilst you're at full chat. Now, aside this, we have the same 60Hz update which remains, but is now interpolated back to 120Hz to compensate for those head movements in VR. This gives a slight ghosting on lateral or sideways movement, but again, you notice this more if you look left or right when you're moving forward. These obviously can't be seen on the social screen capture here, as we're only getting a portion of the left eye's feed. It's not really an accurate representation of the headset, but I do my best here to try and demonstrate how it looks in the VR headsets. Performance is as rock solid as the base game, and also includes that game's same 4x EQAA to help clean up all edges and details in the textures and the edge of geometry, which is great and a beautiful addition to the title overall. There is so much more in this game that you can play and enjoy in VR, looking around the track, sitting inside the cockpit, or just moving back out to the chase cam. Everything looks as impressive and as detailed as it does on the standard game. You are not missing any features at all. Yes, the Pro version boosts that ever so slightly better than the base PS4, but in the game, playing with your headset and ragging around the tracks at 1,000 miles an hour, you don't really care whether you've got a few animated crowds missing here or there. But it is commendable that the team have made sure that they've utilised the PS4 Pro's additional power here to squeeze as much out of it and the engine as possible and give you the best experience within that VR headset. Now, sound is equally enhanced here on both the PS4 and the Pro, which is not unsurprising for a title that was pretty much grounded on its soundtrack and sound effects. Here in Wipeout VR and the new cockpit mode, they now remix the sound effects and the audio to better compensate for this new view. Sound effects are reprocessed within headphones, and the VR headset combined gives you a much better audio experience that matches the visual quality on offer. This is simply the most magnificent update I've ever seen from a title to go from a standard 2D racer to VR. Now, I'm not going to hide my passion and lust for the Wipeout series. I've always been a fan and still am. But this VR update is literally as important for anyone with a PSVR headset as the actual plug itself. They go hand in hand. If you have a PSVR headset, then you need Wipeout. End of. There is no exception here at all. This is absolutely free, and XDev cannot be commended enough for the work, passion and sheer brilliant results they've achieved here with Wipeout VR. Whether you play this on the PS4 or the Pro, yes, there's some sacrifices in some of the glare, and the bloom effects have been desaturated, likely due to the fact that the OLED bright glaring look and the HDR, which can't be possible on the standard PSVR headset, has been toned down, giving a slightly dull look compared to the actual game itself. But once you're playing the game, you would never notice that at all. All of the options to reduce sickness levels with mapping to the ship, and the blinkers to reduce the field of view so you don't feel so sick for so long. Everything has been tailored to make this an enjoyable, fun and completely exhilarating experience. This is Wipeout pure through and through. Not something that's just been ported straight over to VR to make it work, but the full game, redesigned, repackaged and repurposed to work its best in this virtual reality environment. And for that, I can only recommend that you rush out now and pick this game up, whether it's online or in retail. This is certainly something you should play, and even if you don't play it in VR, it's still a bloody excellent game on the PS4 and the Pro itself anyway, and hopefully we can see something even better and more improved in a future version of VR, and maybe even in the PS5's VR headset. Anyway, I've waxed long enough and lyrical enough about this title. You can enjoy a minute or more or so of action, but if you do enjoy this or anything else that I put together, then please feel free to subscribe or support me with the Patreon link below. You can also follow me on Twitter and catch up with me there. But I'm off in my phaser and out of here. I'll catch you soon on the next one.
Final lap. Autopilot. Autopilot engaged. Bomb. Boom. Missile. Complete. Silver medal awarded.